Let's talk about where we're going domestically, though. We have this story from Timcast.com. It's all from Timcast.com. Pro-abortion protesters show up at the home of Justice Kavanaugh hours after man arrested for failed assassination attempt. So this story was from yesterday, but this morning, let me tell you guys. You know about what happened last night if you watched the show. We were forced to evacuate the building. There was a credible threat. It sucks. After we came back in, Jeremy Hambley of the Quartering was swatted, and we believe by the same person. There were similarities to the incidents. Although ours was substantially different, there were enough similarities to where we think it was the same person. Upon seeing that, so Jeremy of the Quartering has got a big YouTube channel. They apparently pinned him on the ground, cuffed him. They had pointed guns in the face of his wife, and it's particularly brutal. I wake up and I see this story that a man. So first, let's go back in time. People announced their intent to protest at the homes of the Supreme Court justices, which is a federal crime. Merrick Garland says, so what? Jen Psaki encourages it. She says, we certainly encourage more of this. She outright said they encourage it. They are outright saying to commit crimes. And there's no justice. I warned, if people go to these homes and they are not held to account, and being held to account means you get a slap on the wrist, they take you to the department, take a picture of you, and you leave. You go to court and the judge says, don't do it again, and that's the end of it. It's a slap on the wrist. Nothing happens to you, right? But that line is set that we will arrest you because it's nonviolent civil disobedience. I said if we don't do that, they will escalate to the next point. Well, they jumped the shark. I mean, the next escalation would have been like vandalism. But a dude shows up with zip ties, crowbar, a knife, a Glock. I think it had a Glock 17.
Yeah, it was going to be a bad night.
Yeah. It was going to be a very bad night. And this guy ends up confessing, turns himself in, and the protesters came back. And there's no justice.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
So after everything we go through, and we're not that far away.
Right.
Okay, we are. I don't want to say just how close, but we are relatively close. And there's no justice. There's no law. I can't see people in this country having confidence in the government when they know that not only is one political faction allowed to just blatantly, flagrantly break the law, but that they are encouraged to do so by the White House press secretary. And here we are after an assassination attempt. The only thing I can hope for is that they announced next week there's going to be Monday and Wednesday opinion rulings, which is going to be big because I believe this may be the last chance they have to issue their opinions on Roe and Casey and the gun control legislation out of New York. Hopefully Brett Kavanaugh sees this and he just goes, people should have guns. Constitutional carry nationwide.
Love it.
I certainly hope so. Otherwise, I think what we're looking at is we've been swatted several times. We've had credible threats. We had a threat in Nashville. We were gonna play a show at John Rich's place, and then we actually had a very serious incident occur, and they were like, "We can't do it." There's like kids and there's families, so we were forced to cancel it. This is the state of politics in this country. During the generation that watched Hannity, and Rachel Maddow, the older generation, they're not doing these things. You look at that SPLC poll that we showed up. Well, we pulled up several times now. The older generation overwhelmingly does not favor political assassinations.
Right.
Young women, Republican and Democrat, young men, Republican and Democrat, over 1/3 of all of these support political assassinations, with Democratic men being the highest at 44% of them supporting assassinations. And this is where we are, which says to me, in the next 10 years, it's going to be, if this sentiment is this prominent, I can only imagine in the next 10, 15, and 20 years, it's going to become mainstream and normal to see this kind of violence.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is and we talked about it a little bit yesterday, this is the value of human life issue. It really is. I mean, the fact that these people showed back up to Brett Kavanaugh's house, nobody even, were they not thinking, what about their kids? What about their wife? How are they feeling right now? They believe that their husband and that their father was just, the target of an assassination. Like, you don't have any compassion?
Well,
no, they don't.
They want power.
Yeah.
And this is the best opportunity for them in their minds. Why? Brett Kavanaugh is scared. Someone just tried to kidnap and murder him. Now the protest is a threat.
Yeah.
And they don't have to say the words because it's already been made.
Yeah, well, and I would argue the protest has been a threat the entire time. What is the purpose of protesting outside of the home of someone who never has to run for re-election,
Right.
who's in a lifetime appointment? You're not telling them that they're going to lose at the ballot box because public opinion is against them.
No.
So what are you trying to show them?
Yeah.
What are you trying to show them by saying, we are a bunch of angry people outside of your house who don't want you to make a particular decision?
Yeah, you're trying to intimidate them. I mean,
Exactly.
imagine being a person like, oh, hey, someone just tried to assassinate that person and his family. Let's go outside of his home and call him a liar. Like, what is wrong with people? To do, it makes absolutely no rational sense at all. And where's the humanity? You
There's
know,
no
where's the
humanity.
caring? Where's the consideration
They're not
of
caring.
like, hey, maybe this is not the best time to go scream at him and his family.
They know they're allowed to do it. They have been encouraged to
Right.
break
There's
the
no
law by
consequence.
the current administration. There are zero consequences. And if the way to get their political agenda across and either establish the social order that they want to establish or protect what they already have in place means that you have to intimidate someone or they get killed, they are clearly okay with that. They are clearly completely comfortable with it. And no one's talking about the fact this guy had zip ties. Who even says he was just going after the justice himself?
You're right.
He was
Whole
outside
family.
of his
Whole
family's
family.
house. He could have had a plot to kidnap them.
Right.
And they're out there the next day protesting it again.
No, not the next day. Afterwards.
Literally
The same day.
immediately
The same
after
day.
it
Hours.
happens.
Hours.
Immediately
Hours
after it
afterwards.
happens.
Yeah.
Every single Democratic political leader needs to be asked whether they disavow this.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Why-
But they're
why-
not
what's the
going
point
to
of
they
asking?
say no.
What's
I
the
think-
point of asking it?
Right.
Do you think there's going to be a Democrat voter somewhere who's going to be like, I'm so surprised they supported the thing I protested at?
That is a true statement.
You know
No,
what?
that's what, there's no negotiating. Maybe there are some regular people who don't know. All right, we're driving in the car with my buddy who doesn't pay attention that much, and I pick up my phone, I'm scrolling through Twitter, and I go, so there was a child drag show in Texas, right? And then he goes, what? And then I was
Right.
like,
What?
I was like, well, that wasn't the point I was trying to make. I was going to say they were protesters, but yeah, you didn't know. He's like, what do you
Yeah.
mean child drag shows? I'm like, these are happening all over
That's
the
a
place.
thing.
But they
He's
don't
like,
know.
what?
Yeah.
And so even to go back to the yesterday, the lawsuit that we are waging against these books that are in schools that are sexually explicit. A lot of parents who have kids in schools, they don't know that these books are in there.
So here's
Well,
the issue I'm getting to with this. Watching these hearings, the people who are watching it, if someone asks them, do you disavow this? The people at home, the cognitive dissonance, the zombified Democrat people are going to be like, you're in the other tribe. You want bad thing.
You want bad. I agree with a certain percentage, but part of the reason the left has been effective in their tactics is because whenever they believe they have found a reason to shame you, they hit you over the head with it over and over and over and over again.
Right.
And so I think it is an effective. It's not just an effective technique. I think it's the right thing to do to say, hey, do you support this? Do you disavow this? Do you have any kind of leg to stand on when you talk about insurrection or political violence or stability or anything along those lines? I think it's a reasonable question, and they do need to be asked.
Yeah,
I want
those-
to go ahead.
No, I was gonna say if the other side, if the Democrats aren't willing to speak against this, then they shouldn't speak into January 6th.
I want to pull up this
But
tweet from
also,
Jack Posobiec.
I just want to make one more point. If they refuse to condemn something like this, it just totally undermines their credibility with the center. If there was any that they had left with the center, obviously their political base is insane.
There's no center. The center is right wing.
I think there are
I'm-
number of people who would say like, oh, I
Bro.
think January 6th was serious or an insurrection or they don't know any better, but they would not be on board with a commission led by people who are okay with assassination.
I think
attempts.
Tim's right. There isn't a center anymore because they're calling you an extremist.
Yeah.
They're calling me right
The
wing.
left is, yeah.
Joe Rogan is right wing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So not only is there no center, but even center leftists are right wing now.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me pull up this tweet from Jack Posobiec.
Yeah, it's important.
He tweets, "Hi Simon Gwynn, why did you delete this?"
Huh.
And this is a tweet from a let's see, Simon Gwynn. Let's pull up his profile. What do we got here?
He's a Ukrainian flag, so he's trendy.
Ukrainian
Oh,
flag.
yeah. He supports current things.
He tweeted, "Interesting real life trolley problem in America now. If you had the chance to kill Clarence Thomas or Samuel Alito,
Wow.
the two oldest right-wing Supreme Court judges, should you do it while Biden can get his nominees to replace
I
them
love
confirmed?"
that
It's
ratio.
interesting as an abstract question, but becomes a real conundrum if, say, you are terminally ill and have little to lose yourself. He's basically trying to incite someone. These people are insane. They have celebrated this stuff. We need more than ever, people to back off.
Yeah.
To stop. They're not. They're not being held accountable for it. There's no law enforcement going after them.
You're literally advocating hate crime.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you something. We had a tweet from Keemstar. Do you guys know Keemstar?
Yeah.
Familiar?
Keemstar is a drama alert on YouTube. Apparently, there was some dude who made a joke about doxing someone at YouTube. So they demonetized his channel. took away all of his revenue. What had happened was, and this is just from me watching a Keemstar video, so you guys fact check it, but there's some relevance here. He says, this guy got doxxed. He reached out to YouTube and said, hey, look, someone published my private information. YouTube said, too bad. So then he made a joke saying, oh, okay, so I guess it's okay. I could dox you, right? And they went, boom, demonetized his channel.
Wow.
What Keemstar then brings up is Ethan Klein, saying that he knows for a fact that there were YouTube employees at the NRA convention that Ethan Klein called to bomb. So Ethan Klein, the host of the H3 podcast, comparable size to this show, called on people to commit an act of terror before very quickly walking it back, saying, okay, I got a little passionate there, All that happened was a strike. Keemstar said, why would one guy get his entire channel purged of all monetization abilities, but Ethan Klein can call for a terror attack?
Right.
And all he gets is a strike.
Well, that raises a question that I wanted to raise. Sorry, before we move on. We were talking about how this guy who came to Kavanaugh's house, how did he know where to go? Oh, right, because they put directions to Kavanaugh's house on social media. Why is that still up? Why is Ethan Klein allowed to call for an actual terror attack, and they allow it?
They took the video down.
They did suspend him. That's true.
They gave
He
him a
was
strike.
passionate. He was passionate.
Yeah,
in
it's
that
true.
moment.
But
Yeah,
he also
Probably had a Ukrainian flag.
He wasn't just
definitely.
that. He said, I was just joking. He also told people to take guns,
Yep.
go outside the home of a governor,
Wow.
and fire them into the air, which is just insane.
Not a good
He
idea.
For
also-
lots of reasons.
He also seemed to believe that an AR-15 is fully auto, because when he said to get your AR-15s and fire them, he went,
What is he talking about?
like he thought it was full auto. And then when I guess his producer said, no, that's dangerous, you can't do that, bullets come down, he goes, well, blanks then. Blanks are fine, right? And it's like, either way, the dude actively called for his audience to commit acts of assault with deadly weapons.
Wow.
And what happened? A single strike. Alex Jones got banned from YouTube for making a metaphor about battle rifles.
Well, would I be safe in assuming that the address for Kavanaugh's house is still up on the protesters, like on the...
I'm pretty sure it is, yeah.
Yeah, it's still up on their organizers page.
I mean, how is
Looks-
that legal?
How is that legal? I have no idea.
Yeah, I got fully demonetized for years for I don't know what. Just doing what I'm doing here on this
It's
show,
the t-shirts.
talking about
Being
current,
Luke, it
current
is
event
t-shirts.
issues.
You did confront the CEO of Google.
Yes,
dare
I did.
you.
I did. That didn't.
That'll do it
at
like
Bilderberg,
that.
and
Yeah.
he wasn't really happy, but that's another thing.
Luke's.
I was asking
Did you know
for it.
Luke's been to Epstein Island?
No, how was that?
It's all the
Back in this
framing.
conundrum here.
Yeah, good work.
It's like, how
Luke.
do I explain this
So
one
the
again?
first, so the first time I brought it up, Luke didn't catch what it sounds like. It sounds like he was invited there.
Yeah, like I was one of the pervy presidents or tech guys that CEOs that was heading there, and no,
at all.
I crashed it afterwards and
He did
just
some
tried to-
investigation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tried
So
to-
after it was already cleared out, he got in a boat and did some investigation there. But
Likely story.
Yeah. All right.
Luke just happened to have old footage and was like, how do I convince people I wasn't really invited?
Yeah, I take it back. You can't be president.
Yeah,
I take
yeah,
it back. Sorry.
no, that means I
it's
can
actually-
be
it's actually-
president.
No, it's a requirement.
It is a
It's
requirement.
actually a
It's a
requirement.
necessity.
Yeah.
But okay, but seriously, in all reality, why are we at a spot as a nation that even that joke has some truth to it? Like, come on, man. Like
Because
we're in
Maxwell
such a-
was
come on.
convicted.
No. It's so sad that that's where we're at. It really is.
I think it's funny that there was a poll, and it was like 57% of Republicans believe that the country is being run by a cabal of pedos or whatever. And I'm just like, I mean, the Epstein thing is proven to be real.
Right.
Like, I'm not surprised people are like, Bill Clinton flew on that plane. And then they believe that. What are they trying to claim with these news stories?
It's kind of hard to deny it, honestly.
You gotta
and there's
live-
no transparency.
And
There's nothing about that trial that's out.
and it's only scratching the surface. Like this is what
Right.
we know publicly. Still, majority of that is still behind the scenes. It's still held in secret. It's still classified. The documents have been sealed in that case.
Right.
So there is still it's sealed because the judge said some of the details here are so shocking and salacious. The general public can't see this. This is what the judge ruled in that specific case. So you can only imagine. This is what we're getting from the outside point of view. Only 1% of what is really happening.
But nobody's standing outside of that judge's house and
That's true.
protesting.
That's very true. Or demanding for those documents to be unsealed, or for the information to make public light, or for those victims to truly get justice for all of the horrible things that they have to go through. While, of course, police officers, judges, prosecutors, the FBI, intelligence agencies were all looking the other way. That's another aspect of this that really should make you wonder. And it's what's happening right now is just the epitome of not holding power to account. And this is
Oh,
what
100%.
happens. This is routinely what happens when you allow people to get away with these things. They're going to try to get away with bigger and bigger things as time goes on. And I think this is the phase that we're in right now, an extremely dangerous phase for everyone.
And how is it a political issue? That's the thing I don't understand. When people are hurting little kids and you're sexually exploiting little kids, how is this a partisan issue? This should be a
Because
human issue.
The left, look, I see these memes all day on Facebook. They're saying things like, Republicans don't want anyone to know that some people have two dads. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure Republicans are mad that the book they're getting challenged has a picture of adult, activities with one person, going down. And they're like, what? And I'm like, okay, dude, if you get your news from memes on Facebook, you're probably going to be misinformed.
100%.
They genuinely believe that Republicans are complaining because a book showed a kid with two dads.
Nope.
And I'm like, well, look, Sure,
yeah.
But are you going to single out that, or are you going to focus on what the news story is actually about? The book Genderqueer.
Yep.
I was like, if you look at Loudoun County, they're talking about a book that shows a white hand from a white person with a devil tail coming out, demonizing white people outright. I'm like, yeah, I'm not surprised that people are upset about racism. But you didn't actually read anything. You just believe whatever Rachel Maddow says.
Right.
So you have no idea what's going on.
And their issue, so for us, those two books that we've put forth in this lawsuit, only thing we're asking for is parental consent. Parental consent for parents, for minors to view sexually explicit material. Very simple, restoring parental rights, that's all. The problem is that these two books are really PG compared to some of the other books that are in circulation in the public schools. I mean, there are books in schools that have a 6-year-old girl bound and gagged and gang raped. Like
What?
this is in the public school system, but people are acting like it's not a big deal. I'm like,
Have
these
you ever
things are
read
huge
Stephen
deals.
King?
Well,
I mean,
Stephen King?
should we
and-
give that to 6th graders though?
probably not.
Well, I honestly, I don't know. Do schools have Stephen King
I
novels
don't
in
think
their
they
libraries?
do.
Maybe not. I mean, because
They
they're adult
do,
and they're probably
yeah.
graphic. But I don't. You know what's funny is most people have seen his movies. They've not read his books.
Right.
Yo, if you read those stories, you're gonna be like, hold on there a minute.
I can't get into them. They're way too dark for me.
It's not about the dog. Well, I mean, yeah, it's like most people don't realize that there's a lot of graphic adult scenes among children in those books.
Another reason not to like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember people. I remember
You're not selling it for me.
that's
no.
disgusting. I remember people mentioning that after it came out. Is
Yeah.
that the case with? Is that like I mean, regardless, disgusting. I didn't know that was a theme with the rest of his
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
books. That is so.
Yeah,
sad.
yeah, yeah.
I just don't
thing.
understand how that. Well, I get actually, given the behavior of the FBI, I do understand how that flies.
That's a theme, and you watch Stephen King on Twitter, and you're like, oh yeah, this all makes sense.
Here's
That
the
is so
issue, though. If you
strong.
look at throughout human history, societies fall, civilizations fall when they're paying their military the least, entertainment the most, and they're focused on sexuality. If you look at it over and over again, these are some of the key issues that revolve around some civilizations falling.
Yeah.
And look at where we're at as a nation. We really have
The
to get
degradation
back.
and destruction of
Yes.
civilization usually has these final steps. I saw a meme out there with a child talking to the dog people who are dressed in their full fetish behaviors, and the meme read, "This is how civilizations collapse."
Yep,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, it's
And-
disgusting. Well, think about it, right? You look at the left's entire mission, and it has been for decades, if not centuries, is to just break down all sexual morality and what
Yeah.
taboos are left there.
Right.
What taboos have yet to be broken down?
I kind of
Those
feel
are the ones that they're going to try to do away with. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah.
been their
It's-
mission.
it's-
Look at Alfred Kinsey.
the one thing that all of these cultural shifts they're trying to push have in common is less children. Every
Yeah.
single one.
Yep.
For one, they're outright saying don't have kids, the environment.
Right.
Then they're saying they're encouraging activities that don't result in having kids. They're
Right.
encouraging abortion. They encourage meaningful sex.
Careers?
It's not all bad. They
Birth control.
Tell kids to birth control and condoms and prophylactics and all that stuff. Those are fine, but all of it, it's like, hey, all of these things result in less kids. The child transitioning, less kids.
so
Sterilization of young
Literally
people.
the sterilization of an entire generation.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
That's potentially.
Yeah, the birth control thing should also be talked about skeptically, because there is some data and science
Agreed.
coming out that is very troubling surrounding that specifically.
Yeah, we mass medicate young girls
Yeah.
on
Mess with their
hormonal-
mess with their hormones
From their
you know,
teens,
that they
yeah.
can't go back from.
Yeah.
Create damages that are with them for the rest of their lives.
Well,
Yeah, putting people on hormone blockers and they act like it's reversible. It's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
Well, and then you look at contraceptives in general, and the idea that you would take this profound and beautiful human interaction, which creates new life, and totally shift the cultural understanding of it as this is just something that's for fun.
Right.
And no wonder we have a full societal breakdown. And it's also interesting because our society, it's totally two-faced with it, right? It's like, have sex, have sex, have sex, have sex. Never have children, never have children, never have children. Well, I'm sorry, one leads to the other. It's it's like,
not the way they're telling you to do it.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, I understand that.
Every push results in less kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. And it's no surprise. I mean, people like Bill Gates, he did a TED talk on this. He said we need to reduce population growth. Well, it's no surprise then that he and many others support programs that result either. It reminds me of that Simpsons episode where you remember the join the Navy thing?
Yes, when they play the boy band song
yeah,
backwards.
they're in the boy band. It's Ivan et Nioj. And then the recruiter is explaining to Lisa how he does it. He's like, he's like subliminal, liminal, and superliminal. And she's like, superliminal? And he goes, yeah. And he opens the window. Hey, you, join the Navy. And then Lenny and Carl are like, all right.
Okay.
And then later you see him getting on the bus. Like, that's all it took. That's what I feel like. You've got the subliminal, which is you should be on birth control. Having kids is a nightmare. Don't have kids, where they outright are just saying like, oh, it's bad, it's worse. Just have fun and engage in these lifestyles. Then you have the superliminal, which is just outright being like, the environment is hurting and it's your fault for having kids, so don't have kids.
And then you have the kind of unconscious chemical castration of individuals, as even some fish off the coast of Florida were found to have antidepressants within their system because the pills, the big pharma, are never truly dealt with. They're just kind of pushed on into a different kind of environment where fish take them, we eat the fish, we get affected by these specific big pharma pills that there's no getting rid of. That's another aspect of it.
Well, and historically, obviously, you had classes of people who didn't have children, but generally, at least in the West and in Christendom, those people were celibate and they were focused on other things.
Right.
They were contributing in really serious and
Society.
significant ways. Now what we're doing is we're ensuring that virtually all of the population either doesn't have children or they don't have children at replacement rate, and we just keep them distracted with non-procreative sex and whatever new gadget comes out that they want to buy. And so it's not as if the energy that would be expended towards having children and raising a family is placed into some other arena which is productive for the culture, society as a whole. It's all just thrown in to seeking base pleasure.
Right. Which is why, so for me moving forward, one of the things that I'm passionate about focusing on is protecting the family unit. I think the family unit, it is the basic building block of society, and we have to protect the family unit.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned this, right? One of the signs of a declining society is this obsession with sex. And part of the reason that there has to be this obsession is so you can break down the barriers, because the sex is the building block of the family, which is the building block of the society. And if you can corrupt the understanding of that, you can tear everything else down.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.